IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station. And I'm your host here, Dr. Anthony L. Gantt, here for another show on IntellectualRadio.com. We're the station that feeds your brain. So I'm going to do my part to feed your brain during our time here together. So I do thank you for coming on the show and looking at the show. And if you before we get started, would like, if you haven't done this already, to go to YouTube if you're looking at it right now, and also hit the subscribe button for YouTube, IntellectualRadio.com. Hit the subscribe button as well as hit the bell so you can be notified of all the great shows we have going on here. Got a lot of shows here. We have from a lot of different topics, so a lot of diversity, a lot of great hosts. Got some shows on relationships, finance, business, spiritual shows, community activist shows, entertainment shows, a lot of different shows that you can find a lot of good hosts that you can follow, and a lot of the hosts also on different platforms, so you can follow them on those platforms that they're on and get more connected with the hosts as well as the shows that they are the host of. So do appreciate you all doing that. Before we get started, let me go ahead and promote some people. And if you would like to be promoted on one of the shows that I do here on IntellectualRadio.com, you can get back in contact with me at fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com. That's fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com. And we can see if my show meet and fit what you do, and if what you do fit what my show does and who my show is for. Then if it's about helping people, then we're 50% there. So I'm going to promote a few people today. The first person is Nawana Walton, and she's in charge of this company called Tea Fusion. And Tea Fusion is a handcrafted beverage. They handcraft beverages brewed in Chicago. It creates and elevates the mind, body, and soul with refreshing tastes and variety of gourmet flavors that presents life in a bottle. You can visit it at www.drinkteafusion. That's DRINKTEAFUSION.com, and you'll save 15% when you use the code Gantt15. That's GANTT 15, and you'll save 15%. Also, they will ship throughout the United States, so they have a lot of great teas that you probably, if you like to drink tea, I think you probably like what they have going on there. The next person is Miss Tammy Hill. She's a real estate professional in Northwest Indiana, looking to buy, sell, or invest in Indiana real estate. Called Tammy D. Hill. She is the owner of Miss Hill Realty. Tammy services all the Northwest Indiana. She has over 17 years of experience. Tammy is professional and knowledgeable of the Indiana real estate market. Tammy D. Hill wants to be your real estate broker for life. You can contact Tammy at 219-718-2963. That's 219-718-2963. You also get a free consultation by mentioning you heard about Miss Tammy and her business here on Business Skills Show here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station with the host, Dr. Anthony L. Gantt. The next person we will promote is Miss Jera Latrice, looking to become an author. Look no further. Gifted with a Pen is a full-service ghostwriting and editing company. Was created with Proverbs 18:16 in mind. A man's gift makes room for him and bring him before a great man. Jera Latrice and her team are truly gifted with the pen, and they are excited about helping you or future artists like yourself. You can contact Miss Jera at Jera Latrice, that's JERALATRICE.com. And from there, you can book a time on her calendar. You'll also get a free consultation by mentioning you heard about Miss Jera Latrice and her business here on the Great Business Skills Show here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station with your host, Dr. Anthony L. Gantt. And the last person we'll promote this evening is Miss Yarley L. Theodore, and she's an insurance professional. And are you a truck driver? Do you want to save money on your business insurance? If so, don't wait too long. Contact Miss Yarley at 630-998-8852. That's 630-998-8852. She is a dedicated insurance broker who has the ability to quote you from multiple insurance companies to save you money. You'll also get a free consultation by mentioning you heard about Miss Yarley and her business here on the Great Business Skills Show here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station with your host, Dr. Anthony L. Gantt. And again, if you want to get promoted on the show, get with me at fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com. Get in contact with those people as well. And if you don't need their services, then maybe you can refer some of your friends or take the information down and pass it along to some of your friends and relatives that may need their service also. So, again, this is the Great Business Skills Show, and this is a business skill, obviously a business show, and it's based on it's a business coaching session, a business class, as well as a business book club, all kind of wrapped into one. Excuse me. And and if you're new to me and new to intellectualradio.com, I always do a certain series on a particular topic, and most likely I've written a book on the topic or in the process of doing so. And this particular show, this series that we're in, this is a new series, and it's how to publish your own book. So we're going to talk about self-publishing for 3-4 sessions here about how to actually self-publish your own book. And obviously, I got a few books out here because I've been fortunate enough to publish uh, 20 plus books myself, and in the process of publishing some more. And I've done them all self-published. That doesn't mean I've done them perfectly. So I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I want to try to help you, prevent you from making some of the same mistakes I've made and some of the same mistakes I see people make in this process of self-publishing their own book. And one of the main things, the first thing that a lot of people have a problem with when it comes to self-publishing their book, obviously you have to write a book before you can publish it, right? So, we're going to go ahead and make the step that you already wrote the book, right? And if you haven't written the book, you know what to look forward to in the publishing side, right? But when you publish, being involved with self-publishing, a lot of times it's to some people it's a daunting task, and it's not an easy task. Simple maybe, but not easy. It's a lot that goes a lot along with a lot of moving parts involved with self-publishing a book. But first, you need to ask yourself: do you believe that you can do it? And a lot of times, people get involved with this space, and they've done all this writing of a book and everything, or really they don't have a book yet because it's not published, but really they have a manuscript. But they get to the point that they did the manuscript, they did everything they needed to do regarding the manuscript, but they have this particular problem with putting this book together and putting their own book together in the process because they need to publish it. And since they don't know what publishing is and know how it works, a lot of times they make a lot of mistakes in the process. And because they make a lot of mistakes in the process, then it's going to impact them on the money side. So in the publishing side, when you're publishing your own book, and again, we're going to talk about a lot of different things throughout the series. I'm not going to cover everything in one session, but we are going to cover quite a bit of information in each session. However, one of the first things you need to ask yourself is not like I said, can I do it? But you need to ask yourself too, what are some of the advantages and some of the disadvantages in self-publishing your own book? Because I think that's only fair that you know what you're walking into before you walk into it, because you might find out that you don't want to do it that way, or you may find out which way to do it, because I'm going to share with you several ways on self-publishing a book. But the thing that you have to realize is that self-publishing a book, you're publishing a book and eventually you want to sell it. So here's the way a person publishes a book. It'll make a big impact on the sales of the book. It's going to, in other words, it'll make a big impact on the money you're going to make, right? Because we're not publishing a book because we don't have anything to do. We're publishing a book so we can sell the book and obviously open up some other doors for us as well. But we need to make some money because, see, when you self-publishing a book, that's the thing. You're doing it yourself. And doing it yourself, when you ever think of anything that you have to do yourself, change your own oil or paint your own house or whatever it may be, when you're doing it yourself, you're doing it yourself. You have to do everything. So let's go with painting a house, for instance. You're painting a house. You have to go pick up the paint. You got to go buy the tape so it won't get on the baseboards and, the colors that you want. And if you want different colors, you got to make sure you have everything that you need. You need things to cover your floor. So if you waste some paint or some paint splatter, it won't mess up furniture and the floor and everything. So you got to do all this yourself. You got to find out what it costs. You got to go pick it up. Then you got to get the rollers and the paint or whatever spray. And so you got to paint this thing yourself, right? Because you're doing it yourself. Well, in all actuality, the same thing goes with a book, but it's a little bit different because you don't have to do everything yourself, but you do have to be connected with people to help you get this done, right? And we'll go through that a little further as well. So when you realize, you have to ask yourself, can I do this? Is this something that I can do? Now, I'm going to answer that question for you, and the answer is yes, you can do it. Millions of people publish their own books all the time. So, I mean, it's been a phenomenon. Now, I started publishing books at this time. I'm close to about 20 years in this particular game here. And when I first started, it wasn't as lucrative. It was a little bit more difficult because obviously things were getting, they were still somewhat, if you want to call it old fashioned, things were done the old way. But then obviously with technology improving and more companies being out there and more people being involved with it, it made it somewhat a little bit more easier to help you get some of your books published or get books published. But even though it may seem easier to get the book published, the process that you go through will have a big impact on the paychecks you're gonna get from this thing. Because what you have to realize, because you are doing it yourself, you're not a professional quote unquote painter, right? So you might knock some paint over. You might not put you might store the paint in the wrong place because you don't have that expertise about painting a house and paint and all these different things. You may not stir the paint up really good. All these different things may be applicable. You may not have it ventilated well in the house, right? Because you don't know all those things. Well, one thing you want to do when publishing a book, and I'm just telling you my story. When I started publishing books, I didn't know anything. I got bits and pieces from different people that had published books before and tried to read up on it to the best of my ability, because technology again wasn't all that. It was kind of scarce, so to speak, at that time. So it wasn't as lucrative as it is now as far as information. And so I was kind of trying to put this thing together the best way I could, because I never published a book before. This is my first book. As a matter of fact, I never written a book before. That was the first book I had written, and then I went on and self-published it. Now, what drove me to self-publish is because people wasn't knocking on my door talking about they're going to publish my book. I didn't have the big publishing company say, "Hey, man, you look like somebody wrote a book. We want to publish it." I wasn't that popular, right? Nobody knew my name. So obviously I had to find a different way. So here's something for you. You need to ask yourself, regardless of what type of book you write, you might write a book on poetry. You might write books on, you may write a novel. You may write an instructional book. You may write a spiritual or religious book. Regardless of what type of book you write, you need to understand that your voice in a written form need to be out there. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize how important their voice is to be out there. Obviously, I write a lot of self-help books. I write a lot of books on instruction, and even in business, they're instructional books. And you see some of my books, and in every session, I bring a variety of different books, just so you can see some of the books, and you see some bigger than others, and some taller than others, and all these different things, right? Because the books are different, so you're gonna do some things differently with each book, because based on how you're publishing and based on what you're doing, then it's gonna play a large part in how you get this done positively. So for me, uh, self-publishing for me just made sense to me. It may not make sense to a lot of other people, but to me, it made sense. For one, I believe I had something good to say. Right now, I'm about to take that somewhere else. The reason why I say I had something good to say, before I started writing, I was already talking, right? And just like you and most people that right? They talk before some people are very good at telling stories, or telling a good story. And they can write it out, right? So they write this story out and it becomes a novel, right? It may become something else, right? But it may become instructions. I'm very good at instructions, giving instructions and doing things in a step-by-step manner. I'm pretty good at that. So since I'm pretty good at that, it wasn't hard for me to actually say that I knew that this wasn't important, because I had said it numerous times to a lot of people already. So since I said a lot of things to a lot of people and helped them with their life, I knew that what I was going to write, if I wrote the same thing I said, I knew that it's probably going to be important or impactful to somebody. Not everybody, but to somebody. So you have to get to a point in order when you start publishing a book and get to the place where this stuff is important that I've written. It's important enough. Now, again, I want you to be clear. It's not going to be important to everybody, but it's going to be important to somebody, even if it's somebody that's just like you. Now, yeah, you are an individual, you are you, but it's millions of yous out there, thousands of yous out there, right? So since there's thousands of people just like you, then that means that your book, when you get it published, is something for them to read. Now, again, not for everybody, but for people like you. Apparently you like what you're saying, hopefully, or what you have written. Then that means somebody else similar to you probably like what you have written too. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind. Now, when you understand this thing about publishing, and understand that you have to focus on what you can do and looking at the advantages. Now, I had to make a list and it didn't take me long again, because I kind of look at things pretty simple for myself, that it just made sense for me to go ahead and self-publish it myself, because one thing, how much control I had over the whole process. See, a lot of times when you write a book, and if somebody else pick up your book, they can change the title of your book. They may change chapter 1, may end up being chapter 5. Chapter 4 might just, they may take it out. They may rewrite the whole book. All these different things may be applicable to what they're doing for you, because they're doing this book for you. So they're taking on the responsibility. They don't like the book like that. They don't think that's a good story. They don't think that that's a good paragraph. So they take things out and they can change the whole book. You know, you can start off with a book called All Eyes on Me, so to speak, and then they turn around and say eyes all on everybody, right? Or might take the whole thing out and say, I don't like that title, right? So the advantage for me was I can stay true to myself if I publish the book myself. Meaning that if I said that the sky is blue and that's what I meant, then that's what I meant. And I can keep that in my book because that's what I meant. I haven't offended anybody because that's exactly what I would say in a verbal sense. So that's exactly what I wrote in a writing sense, right? So this is, when you look at it, that's what some of the things you need to understand, that my voice is important. My voice is needed. My voice is wanted. Again, is it needed by everybody? No. Is it wanted by everybody? No. But is it wanted by somebody? Yes. And is it needed by somebody? Yes. So this is what helped you start having more confidence in the fact that, hey, I think I can publish my book myself. I think I can do it, right? I think I should do it. So after you get past, can I do it? You should get to the point where, you know, you may ask yourself, should you do it? And the answer is yes. You should publish the book that you have yourself. Now, when we look at this, and I need to make this clear now, because writing a book is personal, but publishing a book is all business. Ain't nothing personal about it. Okay. So this is what ends up happening to people. They try to take this personal to this business. No, it's all business when you do something in publishing. So let me share with you what publishing actually is. And we're only going to talk on one phase on this series, but publishing is really a two-part thing. Publishing is preparing something and then selling something that you prepared in a written form, right? We're not going to talk much about sales in this. We'll do that, another session. But we're going to talk about publishing, that you are preparing something. You're taking something that you have that's private, and you are allowing it to be public. That's why it's published. Publish is a sister word to the word public, right? So you're taking something that you have in your files, your computer files, laptop, whatever you have your information, and you're taking this private information, and now you're going to let somebody else see it, or the public or people see what you have written, right? And to a lot of people, that's scary, because here's the first problem is, a lot of us aren't the best writers in the world. Now, some people, they are excellent writers, man. These people are really good, right? And some of us aren't that good at writing. We may just be okay. So then we're afraid if we let this private information out, you may see that I may not be as smart as you thought I was, right? In a written form. So, but you have to realize, especially if you're writing things on self-help or instructions or things like that, you have to realize I got to get the information out, because once the information is published, what happens is it can outlive you. See, if you never publish in this and the information stay private, in all actuality, when you go to the grave, so does it, right? However, when you publish something, it can outlive you because it's published now. It's out in the public amongst people. So if you left the planet, for instance, if I left the planet today, all the books that I've written will still be here and they outlive me, right? So they can still help someone 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even though I'm gone, right? Well, that's the same thing you have to look at when you publish something, that you're trying to get something to outlive you. You're trying to get something to people that you may never meet. You may not go to every state in the union. You may not go to every country on the continent. You may not go to every continent on the planet. But your book can do all that. Your book can go to all those different places and then impact people in all types of walks of life. And even though you may publish a book today, does not mean that the book won't impact the life of somebody else in 5 or 10 years. But if you just keep it private, it won't impact nobody but you. Not saying that you're not a good person for it to be impacted, but if it helped you, if it impacted you, if it was a good story, if it was a good poem, if it was a good instruction manual, if it was good for you and it helped you, why not put it in a situation so you can publish it so it can help other people? Because people don't, most people don't know when they walk up to me and they see me in a grocery store, see me somewhere, they don't know I wrote a book, right? They'll say, man, you look like you wrote a book, right? That doesn't happen to me, right? So if that's the case, if I've written a book and people can't tell I wrote one, then how would they know about it, right? So you're gonna have to get to the place where you know that this is something you should do before you leave the planet. Because once you leave, I don't think you're coming back. Now, some people say you do come back again. I don't know. I believe it's my first and only time here, right? But you're gonna actually want to get this published so it can help other people, and other people can read your story, and hopefully it inspire other people, right? And hopefully the book that you write not only will inspire the people, it help people say, you know what, I can do something too, and may not be writing the book. Um, I have been fortunate enough to help a lot of people write books, right? Also help a lot of people publish books, right? Because I have a publishing company as well. So I helped a lot of people do some things in that space, even if it's just in consultation, right? So that they can avoid making some mistakes. Because see, if you make too many mistakes and you don't know what you're doing in this space, you're gonna lose money. And if you know some of the things, what to expect and what to do, and doing them a certain way, it's gonna seem sometimes a little tedious. It's going to seem sometimes a little meticulous, but at the same time, it's going to be beneficial to help you avoid losing money on the backside of this thing. Because just because you did some things and you're trying to find the easy way, and this is what happened to a lot of people when they come and say, I want to publish a book, they always trying to find the easy way or the shortcut and all these different things, and they end up finding out that they end up hurting themselves in the long run because they just didn't do some things right, gave up their rights and to the book and all these different things. Don't have the format of the book, can't print more copies of the book. All these different things go on because of some things they just didn't do, understanding the publishing side. So I already explained to you that that this is private information that we're making public. So now you have to ask yourself, is your information being public? Do you feel comfortable with your information being public? Because see, the thing that's holding you back first and the most when you don't publish a book, now keep in mind, it takes more work to write a book than it does to publish a book. Okay. And it may take some people, it take them a year, it takes some people 2 years, 5 years. It doesn't take you that long to publish it. Now, if you spent all that time, whatever the time has been, 30 days, if you spent the weekend, or you spent 6 months writing a book, my thing is, why don't you publish it? It won't take you as long as it took you to write it. You have done the hardest part of this process, which was writing the book. That's the hardest part. Publishing a book is not as hard as writing a book. Writing a book is more intense and it's more involved, and it's more things that you have to arrange and rearrange and rewrite and revise. You don't have to, you're not doing that same tedious work, so to speak, on the publishing side. It is something that's tedious, but it's not the same thing. So you have to get to the point where I'm making some of this information private, my private information, public information. Now, see, when you understand that, then you have to ask yourself, how can I do this? What ways do I go? Right? What ways do I go in getting this done? Because see, there's a lot of people out here talking about writing and publishing books. There's a lot of publishing companies that want to publish a book. And you know what? That's good. The more, the better, right? The more avenues you have. Again, when I started, my avenues wasn't like they are now, right? The avenues were kind of small and, it wasn't as lucrative, right? So you kind of had to do things a certain way because of the fact that you didn't have all the opportunities that were out there before. So you had to do things a certain way. So you need to understand that when you publishing a book, you have these companies and you have, I'm going to put these like in 3 tiers, right? Usually you have these larger companies. We call them large publishing houses, right? And they have usually the big stars, athletes, celebrities, politicians. These are the people that they go after to write a book, right? Because I told you part of writing a book is what? Preparing to sell. Anything you're selling, you plan on making a profit, earning some money from it, right? So if they're preparing to sell and you have to put yourself in their shoes, because a lot of times people get, they say, I wrote this book and I sent it off to people. I got me a literary agent and all these different people to try to help me. The literary agent is going out to see what is marketable. So he or she can take that to a publishing house or publishing company so that they can pick up that book, right? If they don't think that it'll be lucrative to sell, then obviously the literary agent is not interested in you or that book, right? But that's not saying your book isn't any good. Your book can still be good. It's just to that literary agent, they're looking at it as a money thing. Why? Because writing a book is personal. Publishing is all business. Everything involved with publishing is business. So the literary agent is business. The publishing company is business. The printers business. Graphic designers business. This is all business. And the thing that you have to do, and we have to, I have to try to help people when they're doing the self-publish is you have to take off your writer's hat, your author's hat, and you have to put on your publisher's hat, right? Because you're going to be the one self-publishing. You actually are the publisher. But when you understand that the publisher job, they're looking for a large publishing company may only publish 10, 12 books a year. They may get up to 20 based on what type of publishing company it is, right? Because of the fact that that's how they earn money. So it makes sense for them to get this popular politician, or this makes sense for them to get this celebrity. It makes sense for them to get this entertainer or athlete, right? And say, hey, this person's writing a book, right? Because if you ever notice when a politician is getting ready to run for another office, for some reason they wrote a book, right? But it's from a big company, and they say this person is hot, right? This person is running for the next public office, and they're very popular. So they know that if we put that money behind this person, they wrote a book on how they climbed up to the top or how they did whatever and where they were born. They know that 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 copies are going to be sold because that person's popularity is that big. You and I may not have that popularity. We may know about 5 or 6 people, right? So like, man, we're not wasting time and putting all that money into you because you only know 5 or 6 people, right? So you have to self-publish, and that's where I was. Yeah, I knew a few people, right? I knew, 2 people over there, 5 people over there, 7 people over there. But I knew a few people in my life, right? However, I didn't know thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. I didn't have those type of numbers. So I had to actually look at self-publishing and say, okay, the advantage for me to self-publish, for one, I can tell my story the way I want to tell it. That's what I can do. No one can tell me that I can't have that part in my story, right? No one can tell me that part, you shouldn't put that part in your story. And that, now here, let me just make this clear. Sometimes people can give you advice, especially if they've been in the book business. They may give you advice on things that may help you have it better. But in all actuality, if you want to actually put what happened to you at 10 years old, you can put that in the book when you self-publish it. But if you're writing for a company, they may say, no, you can't put that in the book. You may be a person like profanity, right? And like using it, right? And like writing it, right? And some company may say, no, you can't put no profanity in there. You may be a person that's spiritual, right? You like talk about God and all those different things, right? You might want to put that in your book, but if you go to a certain company, they say, no, you can't use that. No, can't put that in there. So with self-publishing, if you want to use God on every page and say God on every page, it's your book. You can put that on every page if you want to, right? If you want to put, if you want to use profanity on every page, it's your book. You can do anything you want to do with your book, right? Because you're writing to your audience, right? If you want to do whatever you want with your book when you self-publishing, you can do it. That's really what I'm trying to say. So that's one of the advantages that I see, that I had a little bit more control over my output of information or my content. And I controlled all my content, meaning that I can control what I want to say and how I want to say it, right? Now, obviously, if you're saying things that offend people, you calling people names and all that stuff, obviously people are not going to be that interested in your book, right? Well, people that like to call people names like you do, they probably would be. But, I mean, if you're trying to help people, I think if you are if you have any information, I always tell people I think you should write a book. I think the average person have about 3 books in them personally, right? However, I think you should publish the books that you write. You just never know how your book will impact the life of someone else. And then until that happened to you, then you'll know how important it is to publish a book, right? Because until somebody send you an email, until someone send you a text, until someone send you a call you up, or send you a letter in the mail saying how your book impacted their life, then you say it was a good idea to let your private stuff go public, right? Now, obviously, when you're putting these books together in the publishing side, you can get a little too personal. But guess what? If that's what you want to do with your book, you can do it because you self-publishing. You are doing it yourself. You painting your house. If you want to paint stripes on your wall in your house because you're doing it yourself and do a zigzag, guess what? It's your house, your paint, your wall. You can do what you want to do, right? Well, same thing with a book. You can put it in there any way you want to. Now, some things you have to make clear. Now, you can't go into plagiarism because now obviously we wrote the book already. Hopefully we didn't plagiarize anybody. But, you have to cite some things. And I'll go through that a little bit later as well, too. So first thing we say, you have to look at the fact that you are in the publishing business. You have to put on your publishing hat, right? Because we need to make some things happen. Now, I talked about the first company, right? The big publishing companies. This is why a lot of people, this is when they write their book, and they submit their manuscript to these larger companies, and these larger companies will turn them down, right? Again, don't take it personal. They're looking for what they think they can sell. They're trying to sell so many books, 100,000 books, 50,000 books, right? They're not trying to sell 1,000 copies only, 500 copies only. No, 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 no. They're trying to sell tens of thousands of copies, right? 100,000, a million copies. They're trying to sell a lot of copies. And a lot of times, a lot of us, and I know even for myself, I write niche books, right? Books that go into niche, or some people say niche, right? So I write a book on a certain niche. And most people that I come in contact with, they do the same thing. They write on a certain niche. They might write on a book for mothers, right? Mothers that live up here and over here in this neighborhood, right? Whatever it may be, right? They're writing for people that want to lose weight, or people that want to gain weight, or people that want to comb their hair real straight, right? They're writing to a certain niche. So a lot of times, larger companies, they're not looking so much for books that fall into niches. Again, they're looking for books that actually can have a broader appeal, because they're trying to sell 100,000 copies. They're trying to sell a million copies. So they're looking for a broader appeal. That's why they try to find popular people, because popular people have a broader appeal. Just think of your favorite singer right now, right? Whoever that may be. And your favorite singer right now, they said they're coming out with a book in 2 months. Because they're your favorite singer, you're probably going to buy that book because you want to know more about that favorite singer. When they first start singing, what talent show were they in first? You want to know about this singer, right? Who did they sing with? Who encouraged them? Did their mother, buy them a microphone, right? You want to know all this different information because they're your favorite singer. Well, the publishing company loves that person because they have a broader appeal, because you like them and you want to know more about them. And so you will probably buy the book because of that. And that's not wrong. It's just that you may not have that same appeal to a broader audience. So you waiting, this is a advantage for you to self-publish. If you don't mind doing it yourself, and if you want to wait on other people or wait on someone to discover you, you probably never get your book out, because of the fact that you probably have a niche book, right? A niche book, right? So, and which is not a problem, because you can do a lot of good working in niches, right? I always say with people when I talk about with branding, niches create riches, right? You can't get rich until you find you a niche. And that's one thing the book can do, right? So if you start writing to niches, like this book on self-esteem. Now, yeah, everybody has self-esteem, right? But it's not important to everybody like that. It's not saying that they're bad or anything like that. It was written to a certain niche audience that have issues with their self-esteem or want to improve their self-esteem as adults, right? I didn't write it to 5-year-olds, but you can write a book to 5-year-olds, right? You may want to write a book to African-American children or African-American teenagers or African-American people, right? You can do that. Those may be considered niche books, right? Now, again, if you got more popularity, then more people might want to come and hang out with you and actually promote your book and publish your book. Now, one of the second ways a lot of people, and it became big in the early 2000s or so, called print on demand. And print on demand is okay. I mean, I don't do any books print on demand. I self-publish everything, but print on demand is considered like a self-publishing company. And here's somewhat how print on demand works. And I'll go over this again, obviously in the other parts of the series. But print on demand works like this. If you need one book, we'll print you one book. If you need 100, we'll print you 100. You need 1,000, we'll print you 1,000. Right? That's why it's called print on demand. Right? You demand this many, we print this many. So what ends up happening with a print on demand company, in most cases, you'll send your manuscript to the print on demand company. Now, they have different packages and all these different things, but the way you send it in is pretty much the way that they actually going to print it. So if you have a mistake on page 2, and based on what package you have, they may not do any editing and all that stuff, right? They're just going to print what you send them. And if you have a mistake on page 2, they don't correct page 2. They print it and send it off, right? And print you one copy. And a lot of times they may say, you print it, they may format the book for you. And we're getting to format. I'll teach you how to format as we go through the series. But they'll get it. They'll say, okay, we'll format the book, because a lot of times people write a book, and some people literally write the book, right? And then they have to actually type the book out or have someone type it out for them. And they don't normally format the book because they don't know how to format, right? That's one thing I'm gonna teach you in this series, right? They don't know how to format their own book, so they send their book right in to the print on demand company or whoever they send it to, right? And then what that company does, publishing company or whoever it may be, what they'll do is that they'll take your information and they'll put it in their own format, a template, so it can be book ready. Because when people normally type on a computer or a laptop or anything like that, they start from the left and go to the right, right? And they go all the way over. That's why they had, just keep typing until they go to the next line, right? Some people do it like a term paper. They double space stuff, right? Well, that's not usually how a book is set up, but they don't know. So if you send it in that way, that's pretty much how they're going to put it together. The same way you send it in, right? Well, what ends up happening, if they do format it, you pick a pack and they format it for you. They may tell you that, and this is getting a little ahead of the game here, that every book that you get 50% of the sale, 50 cents on every dollar, right? So if you want to buy the book and you want to, get the book, then you want to actually say, hey, how much the book costs? It costs, they said, they set the price. They say $15. That's what it is. You said, no, I think I want to get $20 for my book. They say, they look at your book and say, no, you only going to get 15. That's it. That's all. You don't negotiate and say, I want 20. They're going to tell you 15 pretty much, and that's what you're going to get. And then if you want to get a copy of the book or you want copies, you're going to pay 50 cents on every dollar, so to speak, right? So you're going to have to buy the book for $7.50. That's, that's kind of how the print on demand actually work. So you print, you want one, and they have a little website for you. People can go to their website or they can go to the bigger companies that's out there and buy your book from them. But the print on demand is splitting with the big company we just use, and I really don't like using names because they don't pay me, but I use it this time. So for instance, like an Amazon, right? And they put an Amazon you can buy the book through Amazon. And what ends up happening is that the print on demand company has to get Amazon so much money, and I'm just giving a certain percentage, like 70%, right? Well, the print on demand company want to make a little money too. So they say, give me 15%. So 85%, 70 plus 15 is 85%, right? Well, you make a whole whopping 15% off your $15 book, right? So now you kind of lose control of the sales part, right? Because, you sell a $15 book and you only got 15%, what you make about $2, right? $2.25. You haven't earned a lot of money. So it's kind of hard to get excited about $2.25, right? So when you self-publish, if you sold your book for $15, then, what ends up happening is that you get the whole $15, right? Now, yeah, you had to print the book yourself. You had to have the copies yourself and all those good things. Again, we will talk more about that. This is the first session. So, I'm giving you a summarization, but we're going to talk about a little bit more detail, a whole lot of things. But I want you to understand that those are some of the ways. You got the regular publishing company, you got to print on demand. And then what you have is some other companies a little bit more popular now, and they're publishing services companies. And what they do, they kind of do all the stuff for you and everything. That's they do the graphics for you. They get the cover for you. They do all these different things for you. And then, you just pay them a fee to do the whole thing. And then they send you 100 books, 50 books, 200 books. Now, print on demand company, they do the same too. They got these packages. So they may say, you get this book, you pay this money, and you're going to get 25 copies of the book, right? Or 50 copies of the book, 100 copies of the book. Whatever that package states, then that's what you can get. Now, you're going to pay the money up front, right? Same thing when you deal with publishing services company. You're going to pay that money up front. You're doing all this work. You're going to have to get the competent people to help you get certain things done. So I share with you, it's a little bit different than painting the house. What you do, connected with everybody that can help you get this done. So you don't have to do the cover yourself. You will get with someone and pay them to do a cover for you, right? You don't print it out. You don't go in your backyard or in your basement and start printing these things yourself, right? You'll get to someone that print books, right? And you'll pay them to print you so many copies. You don't go try to edit it yourself. You'll probably get someone and pay them to edit. You may not lay it out yourself. You're going to get somebody else to lay it out, right? So all these different things that get your ISBN numbers and do your copyrights, all these different things that go along with it. When you self-publishing, what you're doing, you're managing the whole project. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of moving parts, right? You just know how to write it. You don't know how to create a cover, but you paying people to do that. You don't know how to actually, you may not know how to go get your ISBN number. That company may do it for you. Now, that's good if you're doing all these things. Now, eventually you can do, because everything that is like life in general, anything that you pay someone else to do for you, you can do yourself. Now, the more you have to do yourself, the more money you will save, but the more mistakes you probably gonna make, right? Because you don't know what you're doing. You say, I'm gonna create my own cover. Well, okay. You ever created a cover before? No. You know anything about graphic design? No. Okay, go ahead and do your thing. And it may not be that attractive when you get done, right? So it may just be best that you pay someone competent. Now, here's something for you. Since you are the project manager, so to speak, over this entire process, something you must realize and understand, and this is something I had to learn, you have to deal with competent people in this space. And you should deal with competent people in anything you do. But in this space, you have to deal with people that have done something like this before. A mistake that I had when I was starting publishing books, I would deal with people that never done nothing with a book. I would deal with people that never edited a book before. This is their first time. I deal with people that never did a graphic on a book. This is their first time. I would deal with people that never printed books. This was their first time. I was like they test. I was they test. I'm the guinea pig, so to speak, right? So now a lot of my stuff is not coming out probably like I would like it to, because of the fact that I was getting people that were just, it was my first time and it was their first time. They were virgins at it, and so was I. Now, as I got more involved with the process, I started trying to find people and companies that actually did this. Like, I don't want to be the first one anymore, right? Have you ever did a book cover for a book? No, I haven't. Well, I don't want to try you on mine, right? That's okay. But back in the day, okay, I'll try you. And it might not be that attractive. Then the measurements all off. When I'm trying to get it printed, they said, we can't use this thing not even the right measurements. Well, I couldn't get mad at the people because they never done this before, right? I may tell somebody, hey, format my book. They don't know how to format. They format it all wrong, right? So now I had to go back in there and try to format the book, right? Because they don't know what they're doing. And I didn't know what I was doing. So now my formatting all off, right? Things running off the page and all type of stuff, right? Looking real ugly in the inside. Well, that's something that ended up happening to me because of the fact that I didn't know what I was doing, and I was getting around a lot of people that didn't know what they were doing. They wasn't bad people. It's just, if you don't know, you don't know. So one of the things you want to do with anybody you get help, and this is what one of the disadvantages of self-publishing is, because you're ignorant to a lot of the process. That's a disadvantage. It's a lot about it you just don't know, because you didn't go to publish your own book class one-on-one when you was in high school, did you? Or when you was in college? I mean, maybe some people, I never thought about writing a book when at 16 or 20 years old. I mean, I know some people do, but that wasn't me. I didn't think about writing a book. I was in my 30s when I started writing books. So, but I didn't know, I never took a class on it, so to speak, to how to actually do all this stuff. So everything was new to me. That's why I try to teach people these things so they won't make those same mistakes that I made all those years I made them. And then you get frustrated with the process. Then you don't want to sell the book when the book come out because stuff crooked and all type of stuff. Book falling all apart and everything. Like, oh my God. And you spend all this money and you can't sell the book because the thing falling apart. Because you dealing with people that know how to print books. They know how to print paper, like contracts, but they know how to print books. But I was, I thought I had a good deal. That's how I was dealing with things. But so 3 ways, again, you want to look at regular publishing companies. Now, a lot of times when you do well as a self-published author, a lot of those publishing companies might want to pick you up because you've done well with the book already. You have proven that you had sold the book and that you made sales. So since you've proven that you sold the book and that you made sales, then you look like, okay, that you look like a person that I might want to actually pick up your book, right? A literary agent might say, hey, let's pick up your book. A lot of self-published authors have gotten picked up by larger publishing companies because of it. Let me go back to something I said about the print on demand companies as well as the other companies, because people like royalties, right? Because obviously if you have a book and you're selling the book and you sell it to companies, they'll pay you a royalty. That's what that 15% I use. A lot of times those royalties are about 8%, 10%, right? And people like royalties. I like more than 8% for myself, right? But some people get excited over 8%, 10%. They get excited. Like, I got a $20 book and I get a whole 10% of $20. That's $2. No, I like it the other way. I like getting 90%. I like getting $18. Not the 20, not 2 out of the 20. So this is why this publishing is so important, because I told you earlier, publishing means 2 things. Prepping something, that's one part, and then selling what you have prepared, right? So this is all a business thing. This is all sales. I need to make money when I make this thing public, right? and I need to see how long I'm going to earn money by doing this thing after I make it public. Well, the same thing you have to understand too. You have to put on your business hat. Now, if you don't have a business hat, you need to find somebody that has a business hat to teach you what to do, right? And this is why publishing services companies work a little bit better, and it's not as many as obviously print on demand companies, like it's not as many as other publishing companies, because publishing services company, they don't keep any rights. Now, print on demand companies, they don't keep any rights either. Your copyrights and everything, a lot of times they let you, they keep those. What they may end up doing, they may have you sign a contract, and the formatting of the book may belong to them for so many years, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, based on that company. Meaning that you can't, they're doing that so that you can keep coming back to them to get the book printed, right? They're hoping that you sell a lot of books and you have to keep coming back to them and get another 1,000 copies printed, right? So, and then after 2, 4, 5 years, they give you the hard copy, so to speak, of how the format of the book and the way that they format it, how they cleaned it up for you, right? But if you do it yourself, you always have that. You always have that information. So you can go anywhere you want to and get somebody to print it, or you can, your brother-in-law may have a print shop. So now he can print your books for you because he print books, right? All these different things. But if you don't have that format, and this is what happened to a lot of people after they was with that company, they try to scan their book now so they can print it again, because the company that they work with have the actual hard copy or the format of the actual book. Well, you want to actually, when you self-publish, you can have that yourself, right? And again, you still have a copyright. You still own the rights to the book, which is a good thing, because having your rights to your book are really good, because they last your entire life. And they're going to change it, as of now, that it was 70 years. I think they're taking it up to 95 years after you die. So 70 years after you die, your book can still be attached to your family. So this is reason why I tell a lot of people, when you write a book, you should put that book place that in your will, right? So your children or grandchildren or whoever can have access to that thing, because, no telling what may happen in 20 years. You and I, and it's been going on a long time, we'll look at movies, reading books, and the person that wrote the book was here 50, 60 years ago. They've been gone 50 years. But we're looking at a movie based off a book they wrote. Now, if their family had that, had owned the rights to that book or anything, their family is still getting paid. The same thing happened in music. You can, the person wrote the song 50 years ago. Now the song is being played now and being remade again. And that family is still getting paid because of the fact that thing is still out, because it's called copyrights. And you have to understand that you have copyrights when you write a book, and you can place these things in your will, and these are turned into assets. So, that's not saying that your family want to sell your book when you die, right? You get out of here and they be like, we're going to sell mama's book. They might not have an interest in doing that, right? However, somebody may pick up your book and say, man, I want to do something with this book, right? Because keep in mind, you have released it to the public. And 20 years later, your family can start getting paid off that book because of the fact that, that you put it in your will and they own the rights to that book. Well, the same thing can happen, again, with any book that you write. So that's one of the things I always tell people. When you write a book, you want to place these things in your will. And you say, I don't have a will. Well, make up one. Write something on paper. You can get it notarized, right? And this be your will. But, this is something, now you're starting to create assets that you have for your book. Something else with some of the publishing companies, sometimes you can be with some companies and they're having their contracts that, like, just say, for instance, I do a lot of instruction, right? So let's say, for instance, I had a company, do one of these books, and I had to ask them permission. Could I talk about chapter 5 in the book because of the contract that I signed with them? So you guys read these contracts, right? So, because they may say you have to ask them permission to use chapter 5. You said, well, I wrote the book. Yeah, but really the book kind of belongs to us and the way that we have it formatted and everything. So you need our permission, because you're going to try to teach a class in your local junior college or something like that, or teach online and get paid for it. They want to know, because they have, in a certain degree, so many rights to the book. That's why you got to read these contracts. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on through the process. So those are some of the things that you need to know about book publishing. This is, again, part 1. So we're going to talk more about it. But before I do a recap, I'm going to promote a few people. And I know I said a whole lot already, but I'm going to say even more as the series go on. So I'm going to promote a few people. And if you want to get promoted on any of the shows I do here at IntellectualRadio.com, you can contact me here at you can contact me at fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com, and then we can talk about it. So again, the first person I'm going to promote, her name is Miss Nawana Walton, and she's in charge of the CEO of Tea Fusion, and they are a handcrafted beverage company brewed in Chicago. They create and elevates the mind. The tea that they create elevates the mind, body, and soul with a refreshing taste and a variety of gourmet flavors that presents life in a bottle. Visit them at www.drinktfusion.com. That's DRINK as in kite, T as in Tom, EAFUSION.com. www.drinktfusion.com and save 15% when you use the code Gantt15. That's G as in great, A N T as in top, T as in top, two T's, 1 5. So Gantt15, you save 15%. And they will ship throughout the United States. So I mean they have some really good teas. So you ought to check them out. And if you're a tea drinker, I think you would like some of the things they have going on. Next person we have is Miss Tammy Hill, and she's a real estate professional in Northwest Indiana. Looking to buy, sell, or invest in Indiana real estate, call Tammy D. Hill. She is the owner of Miss Hill Realty. Tammy serves all Northwest Indiana. She has over 17 years of experience. Tammy is professional and knowledgeable of the Indiana real estate market. Tammy D. Hill wants to be your real estate broker for life. You can contact Tammy at 219-71. Let me start over. 219-781-2963. Again, that's 219-781-2963. And you also get a free consultation by mentioning that you heard about Miss Tammy D. Hill and her business here on .com and iHeart Station with the host, Dr. Anthony L. Gantt. The next person we're going to promote is Miss Jera Latrice. And the next person we're going to promote is Miss Jera Latrice. And she's in book publishing. So some of you might want to talk to as well. Looking to become an author? Look no further. Gifted with a Pen is a full-service ghostwriting and editing company. Was created with Proverbs 18:16 in mind. A man's gift makes room for him and bring him before a great man. Gerald Latrice and her team are truly gifted with the pen, and they are excited about helping future authors like yourself. You can contact Jera at jeralatrice.com. That's JERRA, two R's, and LATRICE.com, jeralatrice.com. From there, you can book a time on her calendar. You will also get a free consultation by mentioning you heard about Jera and her business here on the Great Business Skills Show, here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station with your host, Dr. Anthony L. Gantt. And the last person we promote this evening is Miss Yarley. That's YARDLEY, L. Theodore. And she's an insurance professional. Are you a truck driver? Do you want to save money on your business insurance? If so, you don't want to wait. You want to contact Miss Yarley at 630-998-8852. That's 630-998-8852. She's a dedicated insurance broker who has the ability to quote you from multiple insurance companies to save you money. You'll also get a free consultation by mentioning you heard about Miss Yarley and her business here on the Great Business Skills Show, here on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station with your host, Dr. Anthony L. Gantt. So, again, if you would like to get promoted on the show, again, you can contact me at fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com. And then again, we can discuss and see if we can put you on. I'm all about trying to help people get a little bit more exposure to more people in more places that's doing business. I know how tough it is to get exposure, so I try to do my part to help people do that. So let's do a recap before we close this thing out. So we said that one of the things you had to do is that you had to believe that you can promote, that you can publish a book, and that you should publish a book, and that you taking your private information, your private writings, and you're making it public. Remember, publishing has two parts. One part is preparing something, preparing works, written works, to sell. And the other part is to sell it, right? So those are the two parts that publishing is. So when we get in publishing, it's all business. It's nothing personal. Writing is personal. Publishing is all business. So we want to make sure that when we get involved with this, we got to put on our business hats. We got to put on our publisher hat. We got to think like a publisher. right? Not think like a writer or an author anymore, because we already done that part by creating a manuscript. Now we got to start thinking like a publisher, because we got to think about prepping our work so that we can sell the work to the public or to people. So those are some of the things that we went over. Again, if you haven't done this already, I'd like you to go to YouTube, IntellectualRadio.com, and then hit the subscribe button. Also hit the bell so you can be notified of all the great shows we have here going on Sunday through Saturdays, mornings, afternoons, and evenings. And so let me close like I always do. Keep in mind that great business people like you, great business people aren't born great. Great business people are made great by having great business skills. And I'll see you next time.